Hello everyone, welcome to another video from Fantasy Football Scout. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying the international break. I'm joined here by Gianni for the team selection video, which, yeah, I mean, you're on a red arrow, Gianni, but things are still going pretty well, I have to say. And we've got quite a lot to talk about because you've got some exciting moves planned.
Yeah, it's been a good start to the season. It's been steady, but solid and steady. So I'm fairly happy. And now I guess this is where it feels like the real fun starts with the international break, some potential injuries, some of the big guns added to the game, transfers, Ronaldo in. It's just this is where it still seems to be like this is really where the hard work starts.
Fun, you say? Is this fun? I mean, there's people with, wild cards with Ronaldo and Lukaku sweating about whether they're going to start. Son's got this injury now. Rafinha, all the people with him, I'm like you, that we're going to talk about. What do we do with him? Torres, now De Bruyne and Foden's back. It is absolute carnage at the moment. It's making me glad that I haven't wildcarded this week, and neither of you. So, yeah, hopefully we can get through this. Just before we talk about, I just want to mention Fantasy 5. So, like always, every week we're going to be talking about the team that we've selected for this competition. If you don't know what Fantasy 5 is, it's a complimentary game for FPL players to play alongside all the other fantasy football stuff that they do. It's free to play. You just pick 5 players who you think are going to outscore their fantasy points target. There's no bonus points or anything like that. Even if you don't win on the jackpot that week by getting them all right, there's monthly and seasonal prizes too, and there's mini leagues, and there's a mini league for Fantasy Football Scout as well that you can join. At the end of this video, Gianni and I are going to pick the team that we think are going to beat their target. So if you're interested in Fantasy 5, stick around for that. And if you're interested in playing, there's links and stuff in the description below. Right, Gianni, let's talk points first of all. So it might have felt like a long time ago. You got 64 points. Sanchez in goal with 2, Shaw with 6, Trent with 4, Ayling with 2, Salah with 10, Greenwood with 8, Barnes, we're going to talk about him, with 2, Rafinha with 2, Fernandes with 2, Antonio with 22 as your captain, and Ings with 4. So a bit of a spread around. I mean, you had players like Salah and Greenwood and Antonio kind of coming in, and Shaw did okay, and then lots of 2s with Barnes, Rafinha, Fernandes, Ayling, Sanchez. How do you feel about your week? How do you think it went?
Yeah, I mean, all right. The players that got points most had, right? The Salahs, the Antonio captain, cool. Ings with his 3, Shaw, really highly owned players that have delivered, but with modest outcomes. I guess it continues to be a little bit of a differential for me. I was delighted to see again my boy Mason Greenwood coming up with points. So he is 16% owned now, and I think he was started the season at 3% owned. So of course he's gaining in popularity, but that's 3 weeks now where he has got me decent points. He's had an 8, a 10, and then an 8. He's played 90 minutes twice and 89 minutes once. So I was happy with Greenwood. And Shaw got a clean sheet for the first time, although United were very lucky to keep a clean sheet. Again, Wolves looked so good. Wolves have been so unfortunate this season. Definitely a team I'm targeting moving forward. And then, look, Barnes disappointed.
That was predictable, wasn't it?
Yeah, right. I mean, the Norwich fixture, I was reluctant to take him out because it was so good on paper. But look, Leicester, underwhelming again. I know they scraped to win, but Norwich were unlucky. I don't make calls on players that often. I usually make calls based on teams. And no matter how well or poorly Barnes has played, I would look at the Leicester attack and go, that's not a team I want to cover. So even though Barnes has been disappointing, even if he looked fairly good, I'd probably still want rid because I'm just so underwhelmed with Leicester.
Yeah. And I mean, he is a rotation risk, right? And the only way you can kind of justify rotation risk, like Torres, for example, spoilers for your move that you've already made, is they've got to be in form, they've got to be playing well, and they've got to be scoring and kind of not really giving the manager a choice whether to play them or not. And I think Barnes is the opposite. Barnes is going to miss out, I think, very very soon because that's 3 poor performances from him now. I think Iheanacho's knocking around. Leicester don't look great, so I think he's going to have to shake things up. And I think Barnes is going to be maybe a casualty of that. I mean, I've still got. I sold Barnes and for Benrahma, and that was a disappointment. But at least I managed to make the 0.3 because Barnes has gone down to what 6.8 now or something. Is it 6.7, 6.8?
6.8, yeah, I think so.
6.8, yeah. So yeah, you're losing a lot of value if you're holding on to him. But you haven't held on to him? Because
haven't.
let's come straight onto your team going forward. He is gone. Barnes has already gone for Torres. You did that move early. Talk to me about that. Why did you move so early on it, and why Torres?
Yeah, so I mean, selling Barnes to Torres was something I wanted to do after watching Man City last time out. I'd seen Torres play for the third game in a row as the number 9. He got points. I am fully aware. So before the chat will tell me he's a rotation risk, I know what I'm getting involved with here. And if you're happy with that, I think that's cool. But you have to know what you're getting involved with Man City, wide forwards or forwards. Now, if I'm spending 11, 12 million on a Man City asset that's a rotation risk, I don't like it. Mahrez, whatever. When you're spending 7.0, which is what I bought him for, he's now 7.1 and about to go up to 7.2. When you spend that money, when he plays, he performs like a 10, 11 million pound player, out of position as well. Remember, he's listed as a midfielder. So I'm taking the peaks with the troughs here. And when he plays, I think I'll get good points. And when he doesn't, I won't. Do I want him long term? Do I want that headache? Probably not. But my hope is that now the Champions League is back, that Torres gets rotated for those Champions League games. And if he does, it makes it easier predicting Pep. Still no foregone conclusion. But if he does miss out on a Champions League game, there is a stronger chance he plays the Premier League game. So I put him in. But look, it's Leicester and Southampton up next. I don't know how long I'll have him beyond Leicester and Southampton. But from those two games, if I get one start and I get 30 minutes off the bench in the other, I still think I get points there. And at 7.0, there's not too many you can ever bank on for points. So it's a little bit of fun. It's a little bit differential. I like the fact I can have fun with it. And I'm not going to have too much anxiety over will he, won't he start? Because this isn't a premium spot in my team. This is the fun pick, the fun spot. You could argue Jota's the better call. I couldn't afford Jota. Selling Barnes, I literally had the exact funds to go Barnes to Torres before the price rises or dip. So I've saved 0.2 on the move already, and it will work out at 0.3 as Torres rises again. So I'm happy I went early. Just hope he doesn't get injured playing for Spain tonight. He started for Spain in both their games, came off at 60 in the second one, and scored. Has looked really good. I just hope he doesn't play 90 tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I think the international break has been quite good for me because, well, maybe not good for me because after the haul against Arsenal and seeing Mark's, being so upset and angry at having sold him, I was all set on Torres. I was like, and the chats, these people in the chat saying, team looks good, Torres is a no-brainer, that kind of thing, and that was my reaction. I was like, I've got Grealish, he's 8 million, but Torres is the one who's kind of in form. The issue is, and you know this, I'm just kind of saying this for the benefit of people. The issue is Pep in general. We don't know if Torres is going to keep that place long term. It looks like he's done enough. He started the last kind of 4 games of the Community Shield and all of that. So yeah, there's definitely some reliability of that if you look at his previous minutes. But you've got Foden and De Bruyne coming back soon. So how does the team switch up when those guys are in? Is Gabriel Jesus going to stay wide right? That just seems really weird to me. So if he does, I mean, he's going to be keeping potentially Mahrez and Foden out of the side as well. So I think there is a chance that we could see Jesus going back up front and maybe Foden and Mahrez coming back into the side. So I don't think Jesus playing well on the right is suddenly going to mean that that's the only place that he plays. And the more I look at all the games City have got coming up, the Champions League, it's just really, really putting off him. And you talk about not being worried if he doesn't play, but your bench is Livramento, Eiling, and a guy who's not even in the league anymore. So what are you hoping for with? Are you hoping that if he doesn't play, he just doesn't play, and you get one of them, or are you hoping he comes on and gets a cameo? It's going to be a bit of a headache.
Well, I just hope that because his form's been so good that in the games he doesn't play, he still gets 30 minutes. And if we look at Pep's substitutions in the last couple of games, we've seen Mahrez and Sterling coming on for 30-minute cameos, and they're always getting points. Man City in the last half an hour of games are better than any other team in the league, right? Especially when they're 1 or 2-0 up, they can run riot. And we've seen the chances Sterling and Mahrez got in the last game, which we did on Scoutcast Matchday in the last half an hour. Could have won that game 6-7-0. So I hope that, I get cameos for Torres. I don't think there'll be many games where he doesn't play any minutes in the Premier League. Knowing Man City didn't buy a 9, knowing he started the season so well, Pep has flavours of the month. We know this. And at the moment, Torres is it. Now, when the signs start showing that Torres isn't flavour of the month, and my God, that will happen in the next few months, then you sell him. But for as long as he's the popular pick, for example, Sterling isn't at the moment, Torres is. You just got to try and ride those waves. And City, I say it every time. I'm bored of saying it, but City are the team that score the most goals in the league. They're the team that produced the most amount of chances in the league. But they're also the team that none of us FPL managers seem to ever cover. This is an attack you have to cover, as far as I'm concerned. Now, we can't predict who. Other than KDB, we can't predict who to cover. And do we want KDB at that price? I'm not so sure. So for me, it's just about having a little bit of fun with it.
Do you need to cover it? Do you need to cover a team where there's so much potential for different players? I mean, I had Grealish in that Arsenal game, for example. I got 1 assist out of it. You know, if you've tried to cover with Mahrez, you've got 1 assist out of a 5-0. Gundogan, 1 goal? Like the spread of points is so much across the side. My issue with Torres is that you're a classic pet predictor, which is you think
dangerous.
It is. It's always dangerous because you think, if Torres doesn't start this week, that means he's definitely more likely to play next week. And you talk about having a decision to make. The less he plays, the more you want to keep him because the more you think he's going to start the next game. It's exactly what I've had with Mahrez before in the past. You think he's missed out, so he's definitely going to play the next game. And I get it. Like if I was wildcarding this week, I would do it. If I had Barnes, I would probably be making this. It's an easy switch, I think, for you to make to Torres. But I don't think it's a no-brainer like some people are making out that it is. That he's out of position. He's playing because I mean to talk about playing well. I mean he's had a big haul against Arsenal and done nothing else in any other match he's played this season.
Yeah, he had a 2-point and a 3-point return, but in those games he did look good. And he did play as a 9. So we have seen 3 games as the out-and-out 9, which for Man City, without a recognised number 9 in years, you look at it and go, Pep has been rotating this spot so much. If it's not Jesus, he's been rotating it a lot. So to have 3 in a row, 4 in a row as the number 9, if you include the Community Shield, I think he will continue to play as the 9. And like I said, I don't necessarily expect him to start. If he starts 2 in 3 games, I'm happy. But honestly, I think you're right. All the headaches you allude to, I will have and I will be selling him. But for the immediate term, it's just for me about riding the Pep wave of flavour of the month. And he is that. And his price is rising. I knew I had to sell Barnes, whose price was falling. So I was probably pushed into a corner. Like with hindsight, I'd look at it and go, now we know a little bit more about Firmino. And we know Jota is likely to start the next couple. Do you go, okay, Jota's the better option? Well, yeah, he probably is because he's more nailed. But saying that, I couldn't afford him anyway. So I'm pleased I've gone there, but I don't necessarily want the headache for long. And I do think Pep will start playing with us and Foden and KDB's fitness will play a part. But look, KDB and Foden, they're not going to be ready to start the weekend. Foden hasn't played since the quarterfinal of the Euros, was it? So Foden's going to be eased in gently. KDB perhaps a little bit faster back, could play in the Champions League. But for the next couple of weeks, I just want him to start against Southampton or Leicester. And I think I get points because Man City looks so good.
Yeah, I think the thing is you have to bank on him continuing to do well because I think if he plays against Leicester, gets another goal, plays against Southampton, gets another goal, I think we're not going to see him rotate that much because it's very hard to drop a player in that kind of form. And
in theory,
is exactly right. Yeah, it is an interesting one. He's a bit of he has the potential, I think, to be a real kind of game breaker in the terms of his price and playing up front for City and stuff. But also he has the potential to be a complete nightmare. So it could be interesting to see how that pans out. Just talk about your other players. Just for anyone listening on the podcast version, you've got Sanchez against Brentford, Shaw against Newcastle, Trent against Leeds, and Ben White coming in to make his probably first appearance on your side against Norwich at home. Salah, captain at the moment against Leeds, Greenwood at home to Newcastle, Torres, Rafinha at home to Liverpool, Fernandes at home to Newcastle, and then Antonio and Ings up front. So you've made the move of Barnes to Torres. How are you feeling about the rest of your side? And you've got some other moves lined up, right?
I do. Danny Ings has to go. That was always the plan. And we always looked at the fixture swing with Villa and went, Ings can go. And DCL or Bamford or Jimenez, all good options to come in at a similar sort of price point. So I've got a bit of a dilemma here, Az, and I really want your opinion. And also, I should probably just add that since we've been recording this, it looks like Rafinha's not going to play this weekend. There's Simon Stone has tweeted He says he
Really?
understands. Yeah, Brazil have asked FIFA to evoke 5-day rule, so 8 Premier League players can't play this weekend. That affects Liverpool, City, Leeds, United, Chelsea. So they're also saying Thiago Silva and Fred won't play on Tuesday either. Richarlison, however, can play against Burnley on Monday. But yeah, it looks like no Rafinha this weekend. So Livramento is probably going to be starting for me because I don't really want Ayling to start. So yeah, that's a bit of a kick in the teeth. But there's no way I'm selling Rafinha with those fixtures moving forward. But yeah, it looks like my moves as will be Ings out. So do I go Jimenez or Bamford? I can't afford DCL. I'm pretty set on Ings to Jimenez if I go with option A. Or I go option B, which is a 4-point hit. And it's probably the obvious move, right? It's Bruno out and Danny Ings out to Ronaldo captain. And then I've got, I think, 7.5 to spend on a midfielder. Annoyingly, not 7.6.
0.1 off Jota, yeah.
Yeah, so I can't get Jota. So there's no one I really want in that price bracket other than Jota. So I'd move down to the 6 millions and I'd probably go Traore at 6 million. And then I can have a little bit of fun with that 1.5 million in the bank.
I mean, you're having too much fun, I think. Playing like Traore and Torres and 1.5 in the bank.
I said this last week, didn't I? I was like, I'm doing really well, but I don't feel like it's a win because my team's so template. And I'm just returning back to default, which is Gianni has to have some differentials in his team. So watch that rank skyrocket. Now I'm trying to have fun. But I want, look, I'm happy going template with my premiums. That's kind of what I'm still doing. Especially Ronaldo who's going to be the most template pick going. But the Torres and the Traores, these are the positions where you should try and have those wins, I believe. So there we go.
You need a couple, right? You're not going to get a lot of fun out of Ben White and, and having Salah like everyone else and Antonio and Shaw. I mean, yeah, it is very dull. Yeah, I kind of try and always have at least kind of three to four, maybe, players that you actually get really excited about when you watch them play. I mean, there's no player more exciting to watch than Traore in the league. I mean, that doesn't correlate with points, but you always feel like something's coming with him, particularly this season. It's interesting. It's interesting on Twitter and Scout because the Wolves camp is quite divided. People commenting on them. I mean, you got a lot of people just kind of very, I think, almost superficially saying, they've had a really poor start to the season. No wins in 3. We shouldn't really be going for teams like that. We want to be trying to think. But, the thing is when you're picking players, you need to go for the future, right? You need to look at what you've seen and see is there potential here for these players. Look at the amount of shots Jimenez and Traore have had between them. I mean, Wolves are going to start scoring goals. I've got absolutely no doubt about it. The fixtures are fantastic.
Yeah.
And I really, really like the look of Jimenez because he's looked good and dangerous, but just so wayward with his shooting, which kind of sums it up for the whole side. And I fancy him to get back on the scoring sheet quickly, whereas Traore, this isn't new for him. So I'm a bit more wary of reluctant of kind of endorsing Traore than I am Jimenez, who I think is really, really strong. But at the same time, I think Traore could hit a monster haul soon. The role he's being used in for Wolves is just so attacking. So yeah, I like it.
He's like an inside forward, isn't he now? He's playing slightly left. It's almost like a front 2. I know Trincao is in there too, but it looks like a front 2. Traore's underlying numbers are actually even better than Jimenez. But I'm with you. Like, I massively want to endorse Jimenez, and that's the move I want. But I can't go Ronaldo if I go Jimenez. So if I want to take the 4-point hit, it has to be a Wolves midfielder, right? And it's not. It would be Traore. But I am torn because selling Bruno for a 4-point hit versus Newcastle, if you just forget Ronaldo for a minute, you're selling Bruno for a 4-point hit.
Yeah.
Or a lot of people out there, you're wildcarding to get rid of Bruno. I that doesn't sit well with me at all. But at the same time, I know I'd captain Salah over Bruno with these fixtures, knowing Ronaldo will be on pens. He will. We don't need to discuss that. But if I had Ronaldo over Salah, I'd captain Ronaldo. So the 4-point hit seems way more worth it if it's a 4-point hit for a captain. So I think I'm veering towards Ronaldo and Traore in for Bruno and Ings rather than the simple move of just no hit and Ings to Jimenez.
It's one of those ones though where you take the hit, you need quite a lot to go right in that situation. You need not only for kind of Ronaldo and Traore to outscore Fernandes and Ings by 4, but then you're switching the captaincy as well. So you're adding another potential risk into that. I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing. I just know from experience that That is some pretty major surgery to a game week team. It's a 4-point hit and the shift of captain as well. And yeah, these things can massively pay off. But I would be a bit like, ooh, that is, yeah. Because I mean, I think Salah against Leeds is a perfectly viable captain. I mean, if Salah outscores Ronaldo and Fernandes this week, I don't think anyone's going to be too surprised. I think people might be kicking themselves that they'd made all these moves to kind of take the captaincy off him and do it. So yeah, talk to me a bit about Ronaldo. Then you think he starts? Then I'm guessing at the weekend. I think that's the kind of the major question that people are asking at the moment.
Yeah, the key for me was Portugal's fixture 2 and fixture 3, which was a trip to Hungary and a trip to Azerbaijan. He's not on those flights. He's not had to go. He went to Manchester way earlier than we expected. He got his yellow card, and he's now had Tuesday training, Wednesday training. He'll train Thursday. He'll have a run through Friday. The guy would have had a good 4 days in Manchester with the team and with Ollie. And I just think that puts him in the pole position to start. And before, I was on the fence. I was like 50-50. Now I'm thinking there's a very good chance he starts. And I just think everything will have aligned. A poor Newcastle backline, home advantage, the homecoming of the GOAT. I just think Ronaldo is a brilliant option. Watching the likes of you and Mark on Black Box and seeing all those numbers, we know he's a flat track bully. I really think that Ronaldo will start and score big against Newcastle. I do.
I'm going off him.
Are you?
Yeah, this is it. At the start of the week, at the start of the international break, I was like, when Ronaldo got announced and stuff, I was like, right, Ronaldo's in, no question about it. I did Black Box with Mark. I was, listening to all the stuff he said, but I was still like, I really like the look of him. My issue with Ronaldo isn't obviously Ronaldo. He's amazing. We don't need to talk about that. It's the fact that striker spots are. There's some good looking strikers around at the moment. I like the look of Calvert-Lewin if he's fit. Obviously, Antonio's a must. You've got Lukaku there as well. You've got Jimenez there too. Bamford, you mentioned, is someone that could become an interesting one. And we haven't seen him and Fernandes play together. I mean, penalties to me there's no discussion there. Ronaldo gets penalties. I've got no doubt about that. Fernandes scored an open play hat-trick 3 weeks ago. And he was like a must to get in. Does Fernandes just become the non-option that everyone kind of thinks that he's going to be? Is, like you mentioned, is taking him out for a hit, for a wild card, before we've even seen Ronaldo in the team and how they're going to link up and play? Is that going to... I kind of just feel like I want to give it a week and just see what happens. And Jimenez is someone that I really like the look of. And I'm wondering if no hit, going just an easy move of Ings to Jimenez, like you've mentioned before, might be better for me. But I can see why you want to do that. It's massive. It's high risk, high reward, I think, with Ronaldo this week. And I think if you don't do it this week, then you're going into quite a rough run of fixtures for United. Not the best.
Yeah.
So I think you have to do it this week if you're going to do it.
Yeah, I'm with you, because then it's West Ham, Villa, but then it gets a bit Everton, but then it gets a bit trickier, Leicester. I just know that I want that premium forward spot covered as well as, like, I know if I get Ronaldo in, it makes it easier to go Lukaku in game week 7 rather than come game week 7 going, I need hits I need 2 or 3 transfers or a wild card. Like, I think if I go Ronaldo now, I'm lowering the risk of using the wild card in 7, which I actually quite like the idea of holding the wild card into December if I can. So yeah, I'm with you. If you make it, it needs to be now. The Bruno-Ronaldo partnership will be interesting, and we have seen for Portugal, they don't link that well. Ronaldo gets frustrated in games and does like to come into those pockets of space that Bruno will occupy. He will be the out-and-out 9 at Old Trafford, but when they are drawing or losing games, he will go wide left, or he will drift short. And that will leave a lot of space, but will Bruno run on beyond? Possibly, or will he be occupying those pockets that Bruno wants to be in? So I've actually done a 18-minute video on Ronaldo's tactical play at Juve, the formation. People don't know this, but when he played at Juve last season, 90% of his games were in a 2-man attack. He was playing in a 4-4-2. Very, very different. So I've spoken a lot about this on my YouTube channel. So check it out, the Fantasy Football Social, after this video. I'll put the link in the chat if you want my thoughts on Ronaldo. But yeah, I am really tempted, mate. It'll be a very different system. But if Ollie can get crosses into the box, if Luke Shaw and Sancho on the right can get him decent chances in the 6-yard box, he will win every header going.
Well, a bit of a spoiler for Black Box. Look at us plugging our other podcast. So on Black Box Arsenal, when we were talking about Ronaldo, obviously Mark did loads of stats about crossing and how United are kind of one of the bottom sides for actually putting crosses into the box. But he looked at them. He's looked at them. And it's a bit of a spoiler for tonight. He looked at them with Cavani in the team, and when Cavani's in the team, the style completely changed.
Yeah.
And loads more balls came in, so they're perfectly capable of changing the system and the style to try and get the most out of Ronaldo. I think if we've got the press conferences this week, I think there is a high chance that Solskjaer gives us a very clear indication whether Ronaldo starts or not.
Yeah, I think so.
You know,
Ollie's quite a good manager for press conferences as well. I think he's not the worst. He's not the best.
He can be a bit of a nightmare, but I think with all the fanfare and all the stuff that's going on with Ronaldo, I think he's just going to get asked very clearly, is Ronaldo going to start?
Yeah.
And I think we're going to kind of know from his reaction, even if he doesn't say clearly, yes, he will start. He will say like he's been training amazingly well, and he looks sharp and fit and ready to go and blah blah blah. I think if he's not going to start, I think Ole will play it down, and I think he will say, well, we're going to have to be a bit patient and see. I mean, whether that's going to be the truth or not will be another thing, but I don't. I just get this sense with Ronaldo, Solskjaer's going to give something away in the press conference, and I think we're going to be able to work out what it is. I don't think the mind games with Ronaldo are just going to be too difficult to do for him. I think so. Yeah, I think we will see. But it is really really interesting, and like you say, it completely changes the dynamic of the whole game. Having Lukaku and Ronaldo in the side now makes it a completely different game now to what it was at the start of the season when we were trying to pick. So you think you'll be moving from Ronaldo to Lukaku, then not trying to get the double up?
Yeah, I think I'll be going with one because there are Antonio. It looks like he's going to be staying for a long time. And then at the moment, my third, I only have 2 attacking spots. So I could change that to 3 attacking spots. But if I did, I think it'd probably be for another mid-price player, a Jimenez, a Bamford or a DCL or whoever. So I do think the one premium forward, which means I'm only ever going to have Kane, Lukaku or Ronaldo, which is... I don't know. Let's see where it goes. At the moment, that's the plan. And with Ronaldo starting, I just looked, and the Tuesday Champions League game is away at Young Boys. Does Ollie really want his first start to be away, or does he want it in front of the Old Trafford crowd? True. And then I'm looking at it and going, Ronaldo's only played 2 games this entire season. He actually needs minutes. When players play pre-season, they often play every 4 or 5 days. They don't play 4 or 5 days, but they get a lot of game time in sort of hour-long periods. And he's only come on once for Juve, and I think it was like 20 minutes at the end of their opening Serie A fixture. He's played 90 for Portugal once, and that was going all the way back to last Friday? So if he waits until Young Boys Tuesday, that's like a 12-day, 10-day gap to a game. I think he needs minutes versus Newcastle. I genuinely do. Don't think he plays 90. Don't think he needs to play 90 to get points. So, I'm set on him starting.
You're setting him, yeah. I mean, he's not going to start against Young Boys. I think that's almost certain. They'll use that as a way to boost his match fitness, game training, and stuff like that. As an away game as well, he might not even travel for that. The Newcastle one. I mean, he could get minutes in a 30-minute cameo. He could get minutes in a 60-minute appearance. Could get full 90. Yeah, it is almost impossible to predict at this point. So yeah, the press conference is going to be really, really interesting. I mean, as well, just to say, Greenwood as well. I mean, you were the massive cheerleader for Greenwood right from the start, and yeah, he's been doing so well for you. What do you reckon about his role in the team with Ronaldo there?
Yeah, it's a really interesting one because it's another player playing in those attacking positions, which should give more threat to Greenwood's place. But we know Greenwood is predominantly playing as a wide forward at the moment. While Sancho, of course, is going to be nailed, at the moment, Greenwood looks more nailed than Sancho because he's producing points. And I think if Ollie was given the option of only playing one on that right-hand side, let's assume Rashford was fit on the left. At the moment, I think Sancho would have to wait his turn. But that's not a discussion to be had because both are fit and Rashford is injured. So at the moment, the wide men, I think, will continue to be Sancho left, Greenwood right. And knowing that there's injuries to midfielders like McTominay, Pogba, therefore, is considered one of the central midfielders. So it's worked out quite... Yeah, always a risk, especially because Fred now won't be able to play for Man United this weekend. So how's that going to impact them in sort of DM? At the moment, as long as Greenwood is scoring, and I've said this since day one, as soon as he looks like he's a rotation risk, he comes out my team. But as long as he is scoring, and as long as Rashford isn't match fit, Greenwood's in the team. When Rashford is back, even if those goals continue, we could see Greenwood miss out. Sure, we know Ollie loves Rashford. But at the moment, yeah, he's staying. He's looking good and staying. And the good sign is he's getting 90 minutes, which we love to know a player is nailed when the manager is making attacking substitutions and Sancho is coming off or Martial is coming off. But look who's staying on the pitch. Ollie's boy Greenwood. That's always a sign that I look for.
Yeah, I think you made two good points on this pod. Very, very unlike you, Gianni. But,
wow, I know. Steady on us.
Which is, you're buying players who are in form and looking good. I mean, Torres, for example, you mentioned is looking good without always getting the points returns, but has looked good in the games. And Greenwood as well continues to do well, isn't getting subbed and all that kind of thing. And it's almost harder in a way to predict when a player not in form is going to suddenly hit form. But when you've got players in form, why not just go for them and ride the wave, like you say? Because, if they just suddenly dropped Greenwood next week, or if Pep did just drop Torres after scoring that thing, after scoring all those points, that's a surprise, right? And it's the same with Ronaldo on penalties. I mean, if Fernandes does take penalties over Ronaldo, that to me is a much bigger shock than if Ronaldo comes in and takes them straight away. So you've got to kind of... A lot of this game is based on luck and it's about opinion and prediction and that kind of thing. You've got to go with the kind of the more logical scenarios and situations. So I think Greenwood and Torres are fantastic options going forward. And Greenwood is annoying because his play's done really well for me in the past. And yeah, I was put off by that kind of rotation. But you were bang on the money. He started all the games, looked really good, scored goals. And that's why you're 400,000 places ahead of me.
I hope I'm right on Torres as well for the time being. I just think you're right. Like, managers' rotation, does that... I'd love to see the numbers on it, but does Pep rotate his attacking players as much off the back of goal-scoring runs? I bet he doesn't. I bet if any manager did, though, it would be Pep. But I just wonder, when you've got an attacking player, if they're scoring goals, surely 9 times out of 10, you just go, yeah, I can bank on them being a regular starter, because managers will not like leaving out someone that's in form. And they often say goal scorers need confidence, and confidence comes from successive games with goals. So yeah, really interesting that those guys are scoring. So surely they are staying in the team.
Yeah, I mean the thing that happens though is they can have a poor game, and then you think if they were only in the side because of their form and he didn't feel like he could drop them, as soon as they drop a clanger,
then they're out.
And that is what happened to Mahrez last season. I mean, he was in a great run. I don't like to keep going on about him. I bought him in, great run, thinking he could cover De Bruyne. I think it was against United or it was against someone. He skied a really easy chance over the bar, got subbed 5-10 minutes later, and then I think missed the next 3 games. And he was the most informed player on the side. So yeah. I never really think he likes Mahrez though. I don't know why. I don't think he particularly likes him. I think he likes these versatile like types like Torres that he could play on the left if he wanted to. Jesus going over to the right. Mahrez has only got one position in the side, so yeah. I think he prefers. He's a flexible manager, right? He likes things to work in different systems and players to drop and change position and everything like that. So I think Torres is good for now. My final question for you is on Antonio. Yeah. So obviously you've got Antonio. Everyone's got Antonio. I think the question is, do you think because he's a cheaper price that you're going to be less likely to captain him? I mean, especially if you bring in Ronaldo and you've got Ronaldo and Salah there. Do you think Antonio could go overlooked for the captaincy going forward? Would he be someone that you might consider as a bit of a left field option, or would you always go for the premiums?
Yeah, I am trying to forget the price tag. All that matters in FPL is points, not price. So when we look at our captaincy, we should be looking at the points he's achieved in previous weeks. Price is irrelevant. And to a degree, the team he plays for should be irrelevant if that team is winning. So West Ham are producing victories and they're scoring goals. And actually, they're playing really attacking football to the point where their defence is looking naff at the moment, which isn't like David Moyes, but that's fine for Antonio. I want them to be expressive and have the extra man up top because they're not playing with the back 5, they're playing with the back 4. So look, I captained Antonio last week when perhaps, I know a fair few in the community did, but the masses didn't. And I thought it was a really obvious pick. I will be considering Antonio, but at the same time, when he has Southampton, which is a really nice fixture, I still don't put West Ham attack versus Southampton above Liverpool's attack versus Leeds or United's attack versus Newcastle. So with that in mind, he becomes an option moving forward for me, but the fixture has to be right and it has to be better than those guys. But yeah, look, this is a guy, forget the price tag, he's delivering like a 10.5, 11 million forward quite comfortably. And we should, for as long as he's getting points, bear that in mind.
Gianni channeling his inner Jesse J there. Forget about the price tag. Jesse G, we should call you from now on.
Hashtag Jesse G, I like that.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I think that's pretty much it then. Gianni's 35 minutes. I mean, yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see what you do this week. Obviously, you had the 2 free transfers, which gives you a lot more, flexibility to decide on these things. I think moving early for Barnes to Torres, I don't think you're going to regret that going forward. But yeah, it'd be interesting to know if you. I think there's been a few people in the chat saying Jimenez is out because obviously he's been with Mexico, isn't he? So
that will be interesting. And then how does that affect Traore as well?
Exactly. Do they push Traore even further up front and just use him as an out-and-out 9? God, he is the most, he is the most fun player to watch. But FPL-wise, I would just get so frustrated with him. But yeah, I think we're, like you said, we're starting to get news on the Brazilian players. So check out the team news video with Neil. We'll be talking through on Friday. We'll be talking through all the different, permutations of the bans and all of that. So yeah, hold off on the transfers now. If you've held out till this long, just wait until the press conferences are done, and then make your moves. Then is my advice. Right, Gianni. Just before we go, let's just build a Fantasy 5 team going forwards because. Yeah, I mean, I play this every week, and I feel like I'm going to win it one day, but I never do. Yeah. So it starts at 3 p.m. The first game is Leicester Man City. We can talk about our predictions for the matches as well as we go through do this. So what do you reckon with Leicester and City? It looks set for a sort of a comfortable City win, right?
I mean, yeah, it wasn't long ago from the Community Shield where City looked rubbish and Leicester looked quite good, but 3 games later, City have scored bags of goals, look really expressive in attack, and Leicester seem to have forgotten how to attack and look leaky. So I can only see a fairly comfortable City win.
So your mate Torres is at 9.5. So remember, that's without bonuses. So he's going to need to get a pretty substantial haul against Leicester to hit that. Yeah. I like the look of Grealish at 8.5. Yeah. Like 1 million less. Gundogan's there at 8.5. As well, and then the rest, it's kind of hard to predict. I mean, Mahrez is the most expensive. He's got the highest target at 10.5. So I would say we go for Grealish. We could maybe go for one of the defenders. I mean, Laporte's there at 6.5, so he would need an attacking return as well as a clean sheet. Well, actually, if he got a goal, it would work. But I reckon we go for Grealish. I'm sick of Grealish. I think you can get 8.5. United Newcastle. There's only going to be one winner here.
There really is. There really is. Like I can't see any other. United were so bad against Wolves, I know, but this is home advantage. This is against Newcastle that don't look great. Yeah, take your pick. Greenwood, is Greenwood better value than Bruno and Ronaldo? Therefore, a pick?
Well, the highest points target is Fernandes, 12.5.
Yeah,
which is that's massive. That's like 2 goals he's going to need to get that. More than that, he need more than 2 goals because that would get him 12, right? And a clean sheet maybe. So yeah, that's too high for me. Greenwood 10.5, so that's like a goal and assist. Ronaldo 9.5.
Oh, it's gotta be. Come on, this is Ronaldo's. It's been Ronaldo's fortnight. Like the whole last 2 weeks has all been Ronaldo, wasn't it? We'd be silly not to.
I wouldn't bet against Ronaldo getting 9.5 points at home to Newcastle, especially if he starts. He could get it if he comes off the bench. I think he's the most sensible one there. Just some of the other ones. I mean, there are some interesting ones in defence, like Shaw's 9.5, for example, but like Maguire's 6.5. So sometimes going for the centre backs with sort of attacking potential like him is a good idea. But I think everyone's going to be on Ronaldo for that. Southampton West Ham is a really obvious one for me here, which is Antonio 6.5.
So good. The value there is insane.
Yeah. So I mean that's a bit of a no-brainer for me. I mean the Southampton strikers, Che Adams and Armstrong, 6.5 as well.
That's crazy.
But you're obviously going to pick back Antonio over there. And Ward-Prowse is 7.5. And then someone like Souček 7.5, for example. So Souček more than Antonio. And then in defence, Soufal 6.5, Creswell 6.5. So lots of 6.5s, but you're going to back Antonio, aren't you?
All day long. All day long.
Right, Chelsea v Villa. your boys Chelsea going up against a bit of a depleted Villa side. Comfortable win, do you reckon?
I mean, no Martinez in goal, likely, and no Tyrone Mings was injured last time out. I need to check his fitness, but without Mings and Martinez, they've not started the season that well defensively either. John Terrier's left, which I think is probably massive for their training ground defensive routines. I just think, this is a comfortable Chelsea win.
It's got to be. So Lukaku and Werner are the highest points targets, both at 9.5. Danny Ings is at 6.5. Jorginho 8.5, Mount 8.5, Havertz 9.5. So they're backing these are high points targets for Chelsea.
What's Reece James as? Because if we're looking at attacking returns, he's as likely as the midfielders.
Reece
James
for
assists.
He's suspended, isn't he?
Oh, of course he is. Of course he is. I think he's suspended for 2 games. So Azpilicueta will probably play right wing back, or possibly Hudson-Odoi.
So Azpilicueta's 8.5.
Wow. Okay.
Christian's 6.5. The Chelsea players, I think, are too high. Because so sometimes you've got to just pick a bit of a random... Like McGinn, for example, is 5.5.
Yeah, he gets an assist.
You only need a goal from him, or a Villa win and an assist or something like that. Or you go for someone, or you go for like maybe a defender. So you could go for Mings, maybe, a goal for Mings, which wouldn't be completely... They're going to target set pieces against Chelsea. I just think you're not always going for like the big haul. Sometimes you need to go for a smaller one. So I think we either go for Lukaku at 9.5, or we go for Tyrone Mings at 6.5.
I like the idea of going for the weaker team in some of these fixtures, but Chelsea Villa's the wrong one to do it with me. So we've got to go Lukaku.
That's a good point. All right, Lukaku.
We've got to go Lukaku.
Lukaku is. And the final one is Leeds and Liverpool.
Let's go for a Leeds player.
Let's go for it. There we go. We can be exciting here.
And they will score Leeds. Like Leeds Liverpool has got goals written all over it, isn't it? It's going to be 4-4.
You would have thought so. I mean, Bamford's 6.5. 6.5 is such an annoying price though, because it means they need to get more than a goal. Because obviously the goal's worth 4.
What's Jack Harrison? Knowing Rafinha's out,
Jack Harrison is 7.5, so quite a lot. Rafinha's 7.5.
Dan James, is he on there?
Dan James is 7.5.
Ugh.
So the likes of Salah 12.5, Mane 8.5, Jota 9.5. If Firmino's out, which we think he's almost certainly going to be, then Jota at 9.5 could be one. I kind of like Phillips at 4.5. He only needs an assist.
True.
And he makes it.
Yeah. And he'll be on some set pieces without Rafinha in the team.
Yeah. So again, he's a bit of a weird... I'm going to put Phillips in. Yeah, Phillips is in. There you go. That's
great. I like that.
So we've got Grealish, Ronaldo, Antonio, Lukaku and Phillips. That is our Fantasy 5 team. If you're interested in playing, as I said, links in the description below. And yeah, we'll see how we get on doing these each week, Gianni. We'll
£5 each, is it?
Yeah, we'll split the money for you.
Although I do owe you, I don't know, a £5 for the Uber on Saturday night. So
you do actually.
It'll be £5 minus a £5.
Yeah, it was good though, wasn't it? We did a little mini scout meetup, which was nice. I managed to get the right train home as well, which was a success. You ran and somehow made your last train home. I honestly, I don't know how you made that. You jumped out the taxi I was in with you and ran to the train and got home. So yeah, it was pretty impressive stuff.
I made the decision of, if I get out of the cab now, I will be able to run faster than the taxi, which was in traffic. And as soon as I got out of the taxi, started running. 5 seconds later, watched Az and the taxi just go past.
Just go past. Like, bye.
Bad call.
Amazing. Right, that's it from us for this week. We will be back next week. We'll see what moves you've made. Gianni, have you taken the exciting 4-point hit, or if you've gone a bit more boring? I think we all know what you're going to do. You're going to do something a bit wild, and hopefully I'll overtake you next week. And we both have red arrows. So Gianni, thanks for joining me, and I'll catch up with you soon. And thank